Welcome back to Southpaw Picks, and you're here with your host Charles, and this is the post-weigh-in show. On this show, we're going to be discussing my betting picks, my final thoughts, and my final predictions for the matchups. Most of this card has stayed together. No one has followed through. Only one fighter has missed weight, and we're going to get into that. Not necessarily a bout I was targeting, but we'll talk about the matchup going forward, and I will make my final predictions. So, starting with the first bout of the night, we have a flyweight bout between Malcolm Gordon and Denise Bondar. Now, this is definitely a matchup I wanted to see how these guys sized up face to face. I wanted to see the body language on the scale. I wanted to see the, fitness level, and I was greatly surprised to see just the physical stature of Bondar. And it really, I would say explain why he fought at bantamweight prior. He's a pretty big guy, but he looked good. He didn't look that drawn out. He didn't look that sucked out. I thought Malcolm Gordon did look the worst out of the two. And, Malcolm Gordon's not going to fill up too much bigger than what we see here. I'm very interested to see how much bigger Bondar gets in this spot. I changed my opinion on this all the way. Definitely not the type of guy to, bet on UFC debuts. Especially guys that definitely aren't really beating the best competition. But when I really went over the resume of Bondar, and you really look at the opponents that have beat him in his 3 losses, those opponents have gone on to, continue to win in their career. It's not like these opponents beat him and then, have a losing record prior. Most of these guys that beat him have a winning record post Bondar, right? And he's only lost to 2 men. And you know what too, in some of the cards he's on cards with Yadong Song and Israel Adesanya. You know what I mean? He's even as a younger fighter, when his record wasn't as it is today, 16-3, he was getting a lot of people looking out at him, scouting him, prospecting him, right? So I'm gonna go here with Denise Bondar, and I'm gonna take him by finish. I really think he's gonna run right through Malcolm Gordon, and it's gonna look way easier than we imagined. And I also feel like that minus 250 in retrospect is going to be a gift. So Denise Bondar, and he is also a play I will be placing on a bet slip this weekend. Moving on down, we got, what a fun card this is really turning out to be. We got Jason Witt versus Phillip Rowe, welterweight bout. Now, we knew going in there was a huge size discrepancy, huge reach disadvantage, and honestly, I want to say I was a little underwhelmed by Jason Witt today. As far as his fitness level, he really didn't look in the same shape he was when he faced Bryan Barberena. Now, I could be maybe reading into this a little too deep, but all the money coming in on Jason Witt against Phillip Rowe here. This is a scenario where, yes, I do see Jason Witt getting a takedown and maintaining some ground control here. And I also do see a scenario where Jason Witt wins until he doesn't win. That's why I cannot participate in this matchup. Phillip Rowe, looking over, he gets hit, he gets hurt. He, he's losing fights until he's not losing fights. It's a guy you really don't want to back. You really don't want to have your money on him. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay away from this. Final prediction, though, I'm going to take into consideration all those grappling shows he's been doing and the guys he works with at Fusion XL, which, Rodolfo Vieira, Gerald Mearshard, guys that obviously would be giving him good looks as far as the grappling goes, and probably higher level jiu-jitsu guys. So I'm going to pick Phillip Rowe here. Not high on the confidence level, but especially with the money steaming him down here, it's like a minus 130. I think it's a reasonable spot. Not a spot I'm going to be taking at this very moment, but things could change. Moving on up the card here, we got a light heavyweight bout between Danilo Marquez and Jailton Almeida. Now, obviously, Jailton Almeida came to the scale looking just like he did on his Contender Series. Chiseled up, cut up, big, strong guy. And, also lending a bit of the size. Even though Marquez is not as chiseled and jacked up, he's still a very big guy. Now, the height situation here, they said 6'6" to 6'3". Those guys, they squared off pretty good. They look like they were around the same size. I don't really agree necessarily with the 3 inches they're giving Daniel Marquez here. And another thing I'd like to say too, I mean, sometimes here they're wearing slippers and sometimes they're wearing shoes, but I don't think any of these shoes are giving you 3 inches of height. I think they size up very well. And once again, a fight I'm not going to stay away from. I feel like it's going to be a whole bunch of grappling and transitioning, and I just don't know who is better between the two. I think we've both seen them in their respective prior matchups out-grappling their opponents. But, I mean, have they faced somebody that's going to offer them the same type of threat? I don't see it there. So this fight's definitely a stay away, but I'm going to side with the favorite, Jailton Almeida. You know, but not confidently. You never know. Training at King's MMA, Marquez might show Almeida some stuff he's never seen before. Moving on down the card here, we got a bantamweight matchup between Alexis Davis and Julijya Stoliarenko. Now, this is a fight I was looking into quietly. Maybe something I might straight bet, a little sprinkle on it. I like Stoliarenko here. I like how she has a size advantage. She's younger. We know what Alexis Davis is. You know, she was in some really tough fights. You know, and we know Stoliarenko is a tough girl. You know, opposed to the Sabina Mazu, who kind of, you know, I wouldn't say she's the toughest, and the IQ level wasn't there. And you know, as much as she was winning and then giving up these leg kicks, I felt that Alexis Davis is really not that scary. She marches forward. She can implement some grappling, but is Alexis Davis going to want to take Stoliarenko to the ground? I don't think so. She snatches up arm bars all the time. You just got to be worried about her playing off her back. I do think Alexis by decision is a good betting opportunity here, but one I'm not going to go for. I like the dog here in Julijya Stoliarenko. Shake things up. I'm not sure 100% if I'm going to sprinkle it on her, but we'll see how the beginning of the event goes. I do have some stock invested on Bondar, so I mean, depending on how that gauges the rest of the card, you know, we'll see if we take a little dog shot on Stoliarenko. But I'm going to pick her for the upset. I like what she brings to the table. Moving on up, we got a middleweight matchup here between Chidi Njokuani versus Marc-Andre Barriault. And, you know, Chidi Njokuani, sorry, I messed that up. Surprising, I must say the least. I was all over Barriault over the course of the week, seeing the line jump up and down and up and down, conflicting opinions, and, you know, from people that you do respect. But nothing really was good enough to push me off the side here with Marc-Andre. Chidi is, you know, taller than him. Obviously looks like the more athletic individual, but I just feel like Marc is a dog. He's got a very strong head too, and I just feel like the thickness and the size of him is just going to wear on Chidi over the course of the fight. I feel like it's going to be very close, 29-28. I know I'm in for a sweat, and but I do think Marc-Andre will pull it out at the end. But you gotta worry about certain things as far as what judges like. Barriault has a style that when fights are close, they don't tend to go his way, right? Just based on the way he fights. I think you got to be a little bit worried if Chidi strikes are just the more significant strikes here. But with all that aside, looking at the improvement Marc-Andre has been making, I just feel like this is the appropriate step for him in this middleweight division, and I'm going with Marc-Andre Barriault. And I'm going to go by decision, 29-28, and Canada gets a W. Moving on down, we got a featherweight matchup between Hakeem Dawodu versus Mike Trizano. Now, Trizano sized up very well, I felt, with Hakeem. You know, you thought I thought going in that Mike would be a lot more slender, a little bit more slinky, if that makes any sense. Just I would say flimsy more so, and Hakeem coming with the more physical, explosive physique. But honestly, Trizano's got a bit of muscle on his frame, and he does look like a pretty good athlete as far as this goes. And I do like his volume. I do like his pressure. You know, you got to be worried about him walking into some shots here, but you know, the pacing, the fact that Hakeem looked really sucked out on the scale. This is a close fight, a fight that I really wanted to bet going in. I was all over Hakeem early. Then you start watching the film on it, and you're like, well, man, Trizano has a path to victory. You start looking it over. Hakeem fights close with a lot of guys, but the competition level for Hakeem is higher than it is for Trizano. I'm going to stay away, but I'm going to stick with my initial lean, despite everything that I've thrown into the memory bank to try and build the case for Trizano. I'm going to say Hakeem Dawodu wins this fight, picks out that lead leg, and, lets Trizano walk into some heavy shots, and he'll have the more, eye-appealing shots for the judges, and wins a close decision. Moving on down, we got a bantamweight scrap between Miles Johns and John Castaneda. I was all over Miles Johns early in. I'm not a fan of Fortress MMA. I just don't think they're a little overrated, those fighters over there. And today was all I needed to completely just say, you know what, I'm not betting on Fortress MMA again, especially seeing Steve Peterson miss weight later in the card, too. It's just, I don't know what kind of ship they're running over there. And honestly, John Castaneda came and he looked ready. He looked like he was in great shape, probably the best shape we've seen him in. I think he actually had a pretty decent size against Miles John here, the wrestler. And, we know Miles John. He's pretty safe. I find his boxing is pretty safe. He doesn't overextend. But I do feel like this is going to be a close fight. And a minus 200 tag on Miles Johns coming out of Fortress MMA just makes me worried. Now, I'm going to pick Miles Johns to win this fight, but I'm not going to bet on him. And, it's crazy how you go in thinking, no, I'm not going to take a shot on Bondar here. But then you really, really dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're like, wait. That's a steal at that line. That minus 250 is actually a steal. This minus 200 on Miles John is not appropriate. And because of that, I'm not going to go out there and, because I think he's the winner here, and knowing this fight's close, I'm not going to give myself that stress at all in this situation. Picking Miles Johns to win, it is a no bet. I'm going to leave him off the parlays this week. Moving on up, we got, speaking of another Fortress MMA guy, we got Julian Erosa versus Steven Peterson. Now, I thought Julian Erosa was going to win this fight going in. Peterson coming in with the weight miss is a little sneaky. I feel like he really wants to damage Julian Erosa here, and I feel like he wasn't willing to cut the extra weight to make this fight. But then there's the flip side that he just wasn't prepared. And as we've been seeing from 47MMA, these guys are just looking unprepared in there. They're looking not well schooled and not well trained. Man, Julian Erosa is a wild card with his durability, but all around way better fighter here. I think Julian Erosa wins a close decision. I do believe this will be a dogfight. He's in there with someone who has a weight advantage over him. I feel like these shots are going to be a lot harder than he expects. But I do feel Julian Erosa will eventually push through just with the pacing and start to really wear down Steven Peterson, probably with some knees to the body, and get the decision win. Julian Erosa by decision, but a heavy tag, not a price I'm willing to pay. Here we go. We got the Ultimate Fighter finale, right? The match between Tresean Gore and Bryan Battle here now. Tresean Gore, I don't know what to think about him. I really don't. Bryan Battle to me seems like a very beatable fighter. Seems like he's a matchup that a lot of guys in the middleweight division at this very moment would love to have, right? A lot of guys. I feel like a guy like Jamie Pickett would jump at the opportunity to fight a guy like Bryan Battle. Although I do believe if Bryan Battle loses this matchup, he will fight a guy like Joseph Holmes, Ugly Man Joe. Man, this is difficult because, I feel like Bryan Battle came in, he looked in great shape. He does look like the bigger guy here. But Tresean Gore does have that X factor that we all know. He does have the power. And from what I understand, he's been training for a long amount of time. He's not a guy like Bryan Battle who just walked into an MMA gym and then took it up and was good at it. From what I understand, Tresean Gore understood what he wanted to do for a very long time. The 3-0 maybe doesn't depict the type of experience he might really have as far as in the training room. This is a big spot here. It's his UFC debut. He seems like a very determined individual. Is it mind over matter here? Bryan Battle not shaking his hand. I'm here saying you're going to regret that. Is that putting a lot of pressure on you in your debut to do something special? I don't know, but Very difficult fight for me to cap. Wish I could, maybe get some action here. That dog money on Bryan Battle looks good, and even a slight favorite here in Tresean Gore, or the minus. I think I saw minus 160. Minus 160 favorite is not too bad. I mean, we just got to see how it plays out, right? 3-0, and 6-1, 6-2. These guys are very, very low level fighters as far as experience goes. I'm gonna go with Tresean Gore. I'm going to say he touches the chin. Bryan Battle is beatable. So if Tresean Gore is the goods, I say he gets it done. Tresean Gore by KO. But definitely not getting my money. Now, moving on down here. We got a light heavyweight bout between Sam Alvey and Brendan Allen. Now, Brendan Allen, to me, did not look like he was in shape. He did look like he was about 15 pounds heavier or 20 pounds heavier than what we're used to, right? How is he going to fare? I'm not sure. I was listening to his interview. He doesn't seem too sure of himself. I feel like this may be a cash grab for him. But Sam Alvey is an opponent he should beat if he's even remotely himself. A quick takedown, a quick rear naked choke, and get him out of there. I feel like this fight is going to be a lot more difficult than Brendan Allen imagines if he's not in shape. And maybe Sam Alvey can make it close and go to the scorecards. Brendan Allen comes in here half-decent shape. I think he gets a submission. If not, I think he wins a close decision. And because as we've been seeing, Brendan Allen seems to have a bit of difficulty with counterpunchers. And Sam Alvey does sit back and wait for his shots. And at 205, you hope Brendan Allen can take shots well. But the last time he took a fight on up weight class at 190 at catchweight with Sean Strickland, he got KO'd. So maybe not his best fighting shape here. But I'm gonna go with the favorite, even on short notice. We all know Brendan Allen's talented, and I'm gonna take him to win a decision against Sam Alvey. Moving on down, we got the people's main event here: Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlston Harris. And love Carlston Harris, man. Bet on him both times here in the UFC. I bet on Shavkat every bout he's had as well. So I'm 2-0 with both these guys. It sucks that they got a clash here. I like Carlston Harris a lot, but I like him against lower level opponents. I feel like Shavkat is the real deal. Striking doesn't really necessarily blow me away, but just the size, the tenacity. He's not Christian Aguilera. He's not Impa Kasanganay, right? And I feel like that alone is going to be an extreme difficulty to Carlston Harris, that was kind of getting away with winging these shots and inexperienced guys on the mat with these transitions. As much as I like my Guyanese brother, my West Indian brother here, I gotta go with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Those guys that come with the animals on their head, they ain't playing around, man. They're here for W's. I think he stays undefeated. I don't know if he finishes Carlston Harris, but I wouldn't be surprised. And looking at Shavkat's track record, why wouldn't he finish Carlston Harris here? So I will go Shavkat Rakhmonov, third round stoppage. Carlston Harris is going to be gassed from the takedowns not working, and eventually will just be, succumbed to by the pressure of Rakhmonov. Moving on. Here we're at the co-main event. We got Punahele Soriano versus Nick Maximov. Now, Nick was a lot, I like Nick's size. I thought Nick had a decent size advantage here over Puna. But, just general fitness and physicality. I think Puna looks like the animal here, right? He looks like the monster. He looks like the explosive athlete that it can't wait to get across that ring, and touch his chin. Man, how good is Nick Maximov? If we're going off Cody Brundage fight, I don't think he's that amazing. I do think this is a spot where they want Puna to go out there and get a nice KO. And I do think this is also, too, maybe a little bit of a payback to Nick and Nate for, making things difficult. He's coming out of the academy. We've seen how those guys have come to their fights. They're not looking too sharp. And even though he's the young dog in town, I just feel like you need to have a little bit more than jiu-jitsu to beat Puna. And I'm going to go Puna by KO. It's something that I'm targeting for my own, financial gain here. And I like Puna Soriano. I was a little weary of it earlier in this week, but the more I sit down and think about it, I don't think this Nick kid's going to be able to take the threat level of being a small octagon with Puna, who's going to be working the body, working the head, working the body. He's going to shoot for takedowns, probably try and make Puna work, but I just feel like Nick's not going to threaten him at all with the hands. So, I mean, Puna's really just going to have to worry about the takedown. And I feel like that's something that's going to give him some trouble. I feel like Brennan was really getting off on Puna because he was really worried about the grappling skills, and he got himself caught up there. We're going to give that a little blip on his way up, just not ready for that caliber of a fighter. I think this is more of his caliber here, and I think Puna gets the KO. Moving on down to the main event. Jack Hermansson versus Sean Strickland. They sized up really well. Honestly, I gotta say, Jack does look like a true middleweight. Sean Strickland looks like a welterweight that's fighting at middleweight, but he's tough. I don't like the fact that he continues to bring up the grappling here of Jack Hermansson. I wonder if that's something that's really in his mind. He hasn't faced a true grappler in a while, and we know his last real pillar-to-post beatdown was from Kamaru Usman. You know, DeSantos hit him with a flying knee. That can get anybody. But, you know, Kamaru Usman really showcased his inefficiencies in the grappling now. Can we see that here with Jack? As much as I want to bet Sean Strickland, I really do like what I see from Jack Hermansson. You know, we're looking at Sean Strickland be undefeated here at middleweight, and he looks great. But we can't gloss over the level of competition Jack Hermansson has been facing. He's just been facing the top 5 to top 8 talent over and over and over again. And that's why his record is win-loss, win-loss. He's been alternating. This is a step back. You know, this is a step back from what he's used to, right? And is Sean Strickland ready to take that next step? It's a very interesting fight at middleweight here. I'm gonna go ahead and take the dog here in Jack Hermansson. I'm gonna edge him to just get a lot more grappling off than we expect, and I'm gonna really see him here frustrating Sean and not giving him the brawl he wants, and just keeping it technical and keeping him on the mat, and winning a real close decision, but having a big third round, I would say. Jack Hermansson, 49-46 by decision, taking the dog in the main event. So that concludes the post weigh-in show. Now, I got 2 parlays I'm going to be offering up here for free on the channel. And we got a 3-teamer here with half a unit. And we are going to take Puna by KO, Denise Bondar by finish, and Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's a pretty good payout. It's half a unit, almost paying out 3 full units. Obviously, we got 2 finishes on that ticket there. And then we got our 4-teamer here. And our 4-teamer, I'll show you up here on the screen. So yes, look for it up on the screen. We got Marc-Andre Barriault on there. We got Shavkat, my boy Rakhmonov. He's definitely the parlay piece this weekend. What a great matchup we got going forward in this main event. I can't wait. We got an early start time for 4 p.m. Eastern for me over here in Canada. I just want to say thank you guys again for showing up to the post weigh-in show. And, you know, continue to rock with us here at Southpaw Picks. We're plus 8 units so far this year, right? And 2 cards. So we're just going to continue to climb. So don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Southpaw Picks. Catch you later.